Welcome back. Let's talk some politics now. Now, just how do you go from being an electoral umpire to being a governorship aspirant within a 24-hour period? Now, that is the story of the former INEC resident electoral commissioner of Cross River State, Bria Franklin, who left his position as rec and in 24 hours joined a major political party and became a governorship aspirant of that party. Mr. Bria was among the aspirants of the All Progressives Congress governorship ticket for Bayelsa State. His hope of becoming the governor of the state was eventually dashed as the screening committee of the APC disqualified him. Their reason is that the former rec had not been a card-carrying member of the party for up to 1 calendar year as required by the party's constitution. Now, that leads us to the circumstances surrounding Franklin's governorship bid in the first place. He actually made public his intention to join partisan politics in a way INEC has regarded as unacceptable. On August 8, he announced his resignation at the state headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Calabar, saying he was heeding the call of his people who at a rally on July the 21st pleaded with him to join the governorship race, and that's according to him. So the question is, did it really take him within say July 21 now and August 8, that's about 18 days now, to register with the party and also pick up a nomination form for the election? And we're not just talking about any election, we're talking about governorship election. Or could it have been that the rec, even while working for INEC, had been playing partisan politics? Somehow, some people think so. And we're looking at all of this considering the fact that every national commissioner and rec of INEC have a code of conduct which rightly states that they cannot be partisan and at the same time be electoral umpires. Let's get a political analyst now from Abuja to help us make sense of this. So Kay Williams joins us on the program right now. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams, for joining us on the program. Now, help us to make sense of this. Just how do you go from being a resident electoral commissioner and becoming, a card-carrying member now of a political party just in a space of, say, 24 hours?
Well, for me, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think the Constitution of the Federal Republic gives everybody that freedom of association. You can always join any party at any time you want to join a party. You can join any other thing anytime you want to join, as long as it's a legitimate thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
But don't you think that that there just might have been some, some kind of conflict of interest when he was the resident electoral commissioner? Because, he left the position of the resident electoral commissioner and joined the APC straight away. So quick means while he was rec, he actually had some kind of soft spot now for the APC.
Well, I don't see it as having soft spot for APC per se, but one thing I can say there is that being a rec, I'm sure he knows the nitty-gritties of elections. He knows what goes on around the election period, and he also knows how somebody can actually become a governor, I think he wanted to capitalize on all those things, to see if he can become the governor of Bayelsa State. Yes, it looks like there's a conflict of interest. Because one, I understand the fact that by the time he wanted to run for that thing, it was discussed within INEC, and they advised him not to run, and they told him clearly that could tantamount to conflict of interest. But because of ambition, he decided to run, even against the wish of INEC.
Yeah, because this is the point. You don't just wake up suddenly one morning and decide you want to become governor of a state or you want to go into politics. We're talking about an individual who was holding the position of resident electoral commissioner, quite a sensitive position. It probably would have been more understandable if he had left the position of resident electoral commissioner, waited for a while before joining politics. But to just move straight off from the office of the resident electoral commissioner to becoming an aspirant, somehow some people would say that's not too cricket. And for me, I find that quite odd.
Yeah, you know, this particular act, you know, to a large extent gives credence, you know, to speculations around town that a lot of dirty things happen in INEC. You know, I am sure, well, I would say I'm sure, but I think that maybe he must have had some kind of, you know, relationship with people around INEC, given that he's one of them. You know, he must get gotten some assurances from one quarter or the other, and they asked him to go and run, that they will do some level of magic, you know, to return him as a governor of Bayelsa State. Because if it is not that, I do not see that reason why he should be so desperate. You know, overnight he wants to be a governor. I don't know the reason. There must be something behind it, which he must have concluded before going for that buying form to run for governor.
Don't you also think, as a result of this, that it just might be necessary to probably amend or have a rule that says, look, if you leave the position of resident electoral commissioner, or haven't worked for INEC, you leave the position, you should wait for a specified period of time before you join any political party. Would that be out of place?
Well, I do not know whether this your position is supported by law, you know.
No, that's what I'm saying. I know it is not the law. I mean, the law allows people to freely move to wherever. But I'm just saying, don't you think such a position, that it just might be necessary to have a law like that in place? Because this whole thing could actually breed suspicion, because it basically means there are other resident electoral commissioners, as we speak, who are still in their positions and probably eyeing positions in politics as well. So, and when you have that kind of situation, it's difficult to guarantee impartiality and independence of that individual as a result of the position that individual is holding, you know, in INEC, especially when it comes to elections.
See, nobody will propose anything like law, you know, saying that if you are a resident electoral commissioner and you resign or you serve out your term, that you have to stay a so number of days or years before you could join any political party. There's nothing like that. I'm sure that will negate the Constitution of the Federal Republic. But one thing is clear. What this thing is showing is that most of these people who are part of INEC, the electoral umpire, even when they are there, they are somehow, one way or the other, playing politics.
That's the point.
Playing politics, because nobody can wake up overnight. If you have not been in politics, you can't just wake up overnight and say you want to be a governor and you go for it bullishly. It can never happen. It can never happen. And that is why I am saying, most of, you see, this is just a pointer. It might not just be only him. It could be a whole lot of them.
Certainly.
Yes, it could be a whole lot of them, you know. So we should look down, deep, and find out those bad eggs in the system. You know, those ones who are not playing by the rules. Because this is electoral umpire. These are people who should live above board. But when you have an ambition like this, there's no way you can live above board. And I'm sure that's why INEC kicked against his interest in running for governorship. And that is why, too, the party APC disqualified him, I'm sure.
Yeah, because you know, it's quite clear what the rule says, you know, for you to be appointed into the especially the position of the resident electoral commissioner, even to serve in INEC, you're supposed to be a political and all of that.
Exactly.
But just as you have said, this is a clear pointer that we just might have some other resident electoral commissioners, even some people who are not resident electoral commissioners, who are probably holding even higher positions in INEC as well, who are basically not apolitical. They are basically partisan, and that's quite worrying.
It's a big headache, honestly. If we need to get Nigeria right, this is where we need to look into, you know, fish out those bad eggs and move them out of the system.
Because the fact is that there's nothing wrong with having a political ambition, but if you have a political ambition, you should not go to take up the position of a resident electoral.
Exactly.
That's just it. He must have been nursing this ambition.
You know too well, before you become resident electoral commission, in fact, before you even hold any appointment in INEC, They will check your records. They will make sure you are never a card-carrying member of any political. At any point, you have never been. And this one, it means that even when he was working as a resident electoral commissioner, he was also romancing political parties. It's something. Politics is not what you just come from the blues and jump into. You understand? You learn through the ropes. That's the truth. You learn politics. Right. You don't just jump into it. So he must have been learning secretly, and nobody knew.
That's just it, because you don't just wake up and go run for the position of governor under a political platform, especially a platform as big as the APC. It doesn't work like that.
That's correct.
Thank you very much, Williams, for joining us in the program and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we'll take a short break. I'll be right back. On Deji 360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country.
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that band.
Deji 360, providing clarity to issues.